happened, but I stood up and brushed myself off. I stood there for a minute, dazed, and felt myself all over to see if I was hurt. I seemed to be all right. I tested the swing to see if it was broken, but it wasn't. Maybe it was an earthquake. I walked into the kitchen and a teacup fell on my head. I thought that was mighty strange. I swept it up. I went back into the living room and sat down on the couch. I picked up the newspaper and read about a little girl who fell into a hole and was never seen again. It made me sad. How could that happen? There's an end to everything. My couch was sagging. I'm going to hit the floor, I thought. And then I did. I got up and looked around. This wasn't my house at all. Yes, it was. It was the little penguin on the wall and the walrus inside it. I recognized everything, down to the little worm on the floor. I moved to the chair beside the window where the light would be better. Now I could see my hand. Not that I wanted to, it was all gnarly and gray. The chandelier was shaking. Then suddenly all was quiet. My hands were glowing and so were my cheeks. I felt healthy and wise. I looked over the staircase to the attic, and there stood a moose. I nearly jumped out of my skin. But the moose was calm, just looking around. He walked over to me. There was a bowl of cookies on the table, and I started feeding them to him. He seemed to really like them. When they were all gone, I walked to the kitchen. He followed me. I opened the refrigerator and grabbed a head of lettuce and started to feed it to him. When that was gone, I gave him a bowl of spinach, and so on. We were becoming great friends. Finally, there was a knock on the door. A man stood there and said, "That's my moose." I said, "No, it isn't. It's my moose." He was really mad. He said, "It isn't your moose, it's mine." "I swear it's mine," I said. And while we were arguing, the moose walked out onto the porch, jumped the rail, and was gone, never to be seen again. One of the reasons I wanted to read that is because Jim and Dara and I, when we were always talking about the signs up here about moose crossings and stuff, and their idea was that it's a myth. There are no moose.
I'm going to read the poem, Double Trouble. I sat by myself at a cafe downtown. I had a hamburger and a malt. I had to get back to work in a while, but I had enough time to chat up the waitress. Her name was Irene, and she was from the same nearby town as I was. In fact, we had gone to the same high school and had the same English teacher. I liked Irene. She said to me, "Do you ever get home much?" "Oh yeah, about once a month," I said. "How about you?" "I still live there. I commute, I guess you could say," she said. "Do you ever see Bobby?" I said. "Oh yeah, I dated him for a while," she said. "No kidding. Bobby used to be my best friend," I said. "Is that a fact? We had a vicious falling out, but I really liked him," she said. "What did you fight over, if you don't mind me asking?" I said. "Oh, he was seeing another girl. Mary Ann was her name," she said. "I used to date Mary Ann myself," I said. "It's a small world," she said. "Yes, it certainly is," I said. Then I hurried off to work. I didn't go back into the cafe for a week, but when I did, Irene had some big news for me. My divorced mother was dating her widowed father. We could hardly believe it. It practically made us brother and sister, but not quite. We could date each other if we chose. We looked each other in the eye and then looked away. I couldn't go back into the cafe for a while after that. It was just too much. I was dating a local girl anyway. But we eventually broke up over nothing, really. I never did understand it. She said she wanted more freedom, so I let her go. When I went back to the cafe, Irene wasn't there. She had quit the previous week and no one knew why. I asked about her around town, but no one knew anything. Finally, I called my mother and asked her to ask her father if he could help me locate her. She called me back the next day and said he didn't know where she was, but if I heard anything, to please call him. I became obsessed with her and her whereabouts. I quit my job and looked for her full time. I had some savings which allowed me to do so. I had a tip that she might be on St. Thomas. So I bought a ticket and went there. After searching the island thoroughly, I gave up and flew back. That's when I discovered her living in my attic. She said she was sorry, but she just wanted to be closer to me and didn't know how to tell me. I asked her to come down and live with me in my space. She said she couldn't now that our parents were married. It would be too much like incest. I didn't know our parents were married, I said. They didn't want anybody to know, she said. Why? I said. In case we got married, she said. Why? I said. It would be too much like incest, she said. Oh, I said, not knowing what she meant. That's just a great poem.
That sure is.
I sat at my desk and contemplated all that I had accomplished. I sat at my desk and contemplated all that I had accomplished this year. I had won the hot dog eating contest on Rhode Island. No, I hadn't. I was just kidding. I was the arm wrestling champion in Portland, Maine. False. I caught the largest boa constrictor in southern Brazil. In my dreams. I built the largest house out of matchsticks in all of the United States. Wow. I caught a wolf by its tail. Yummy. I married the Princess of Monaco. Can you believe it? I fell off Mount Everest. Ouch. I walked back up again. I was tiring. Snore. I set a record for sitting in my chair and snoring louder than anybody. Awake. I set a record for swimming from one end of my bath to the other in No Count, Nebraska. Blurb. I read a book written by a dove. Great. I slept in my chair all day and all night for 30 days. Phew. I ate a cheeseburger every day for a year. I never want to do that again. A trout bit me when I was washing the dishes, but I couldn't catch him. I flew over my hometown and didn't recognize anyone. That's how long it's been. A policeman stopped me on the street and said he was sorry. He was looking for someone who looked just like me. What are the chances? I love you, my brother. Have fun up there.
Yeah, wherever you are, Jim, we're here too.
We're with you.